I conducted an experiment to see which of the endgame mechanics in Diablo 4 is the best in terms of experience gained and loot acquired. Now, a couple of important things to note before I get into the actual test itself and the results. I chose to do each content in 1 hour because Helltides are an hour, and an hour is just a good amount of time to keep track of and visualize. Also, I made sure to only count the time that I was participating in the actual gameplay mechanic. So for instance, with Nightmare Dungeons, I didn't count time that I've spent outside of the dungeon, keeping track of data, tracking my loot, experience, so on and so forth. Only time that I was in the dungeon. And I kept this timing consistent between all three of the content. This includes Nightmare Dungeons, Helltides, and the Tree of Whispers. Now, I did all of this in World Tier 3, Nightmare difficulty, between the levels of 67 and 70. So the experience will show less than it would in World Tier 4, and there is no ancestral gear in this testing. This made it easy to just keep track of sacred gear. I only kept track of sacred rares I was getting, as well as sacred legendaries. No other form of loot was considered in the experiment. Also, I made sure to only do Nightmare Dungeons that were 2 levels above me, as Helltides are consistently 2 levels above whatever level you're doing them at. So, with that out of the way, let's get into it. To start, I tested Nightmare Dungeons. My initial observation was that Nightmare Dungeons were probably going to be the best content to do, as that's what a lot of players have consistently agreed upon. So I decided to start with this and see if Helltides and Tree of Whispers can keep up with the results I get from Nightmare Dungeons. As you can see in the top left corner here, I kept track of my time, as well as how many sacred rares I received, and the number of sacred legendaries, as well as experience gained and dungeons completed. So after about an hour of jamming through Nightmare Dungeons, I was able to complete 7 dungeons, gaining 3,826,149 experience, and I was able to secure 80 sacred rares and 10 sacred legendaries. The next content that I tested were Helltides. I was a little worried about testing Helltides as there are a lot of variables involved. The best way to go about Helltides is by doing various events that spawn inside the Helltides, finding some sort of route that's optimal to hit as many events as possible, and then just keep doing that in a loop until you get enough cinders to buy Chests of Mysteries. Chests of Mysteries drop by far the best loot in terms of how many sacred legendaries you're going to get, so these are pretty much the only ones I go for. Now, the thing about chests in Helltides is that there is the possibility of the chest resetting. You can only get 2 Chests of Mysteries at a time, and if the chest reset, then you could get 2 more. So the goal is to get enough cinders to buy 2 Chests of Mysteries, let them reset, then you get enough to buy 2 more. Now, when I did the testing, I only got 2 Chests of Mysteries because there was no chest reset. The way it works is the timing on the resets is kind of offset with the timing of the Helltide itself, so that you never know if there's going to be a chest reset or when there's going to be a chest reset. Even with this variability in Helltides, I was still able to get 41 sacred rares, 13 sacred legendaries, and 1 sacred unique, along with 2,047,735 experience. The Tree of Whispers content was much easier to keep track of, as it was much more similar to Nightmare Dungeons, but instead of doing the nightmare variations of dungeons, I kept it to the regular dungeons, as this is how you would typically be interacting with Tree of Whispers if you were just going for Tree of Whispers. Since I was just going for Tree of Whispers, I tried to do this as optimal as possible, going for sections of the map that had like a dungeon to get a bounty from and a couple events that all added up to the 10 like bounty or whatever it's called that you need to go to the tree to get your cache. So after an hour of doing this, I was able to complete 4 caches, collecting 61 sacred rares and only 2 sacred legendaries, with a total of 2,498,380 experience. So what does this all mean? Well, if you look at all the data, you can clearly see that Nightmare Dungeons are the most efficient endgame content to do in terms of experience gained as well as total loot acquired. Helltides, however, are the best endgame content to do if you're going for loot quality, as you will get far more legendaries doing these and even uniques. But if your focus is on leveling as fast as possible and you don't really care about legendaries, you don't need any aspects, then Nightmare Dungeons are pretty much always going to be the best thing to do by a long shot. Tree of Whispers, however, is pretty much never going to be something you should specifically go for. As far as I understand, I didn't really experience anything crazy about them. I don't know if there's specific loot that you can get only from Tree of Whispers. All I know is that they didn't stack up even close to Nightmare Dungeons in terms of experience, and they didn't stack up against Helltides in terms of legendaries. I think the main purpose of Tree of Whispers is something to do on the side while you're doing Nightmare Dungeons or while you're doing Helltides. It's just something you can get that's sort of an afterthought, you know? Now, as this was one experiment where I did an hour of each content, there's not much data to pick from, so I encourage you guys to do your own experiment and see which one is the best. See which one you like the best, because that's also a factor. Which one do you have more fun with? It's not always about efficiency with video games, so that plays a big role into it as well. So when you've collected your own data, let me know in the comments if yours lines up with mine, or if it even could disprove something that I'm claiming here. Let me know. If you like this video, drop a like. If you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. I stream right here on YouTube, as well as twitch.tv/Jake_Shell. Go check it out. Catch me live sometime. Anyway, that's it for this one. I'll see you in the next one.